channel dedicated to serving the massive sports wagering and fantasy audience. Found on major platforms serving the smart TV market, SportsGrid's real-time data transforms viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Get the best in game live coverage during all the games, as well as the most in-depth pregame previews from hosts like Scott Farrell, Donnie Rightside, Ben Stevens, Gabe Morency, and many more. To find out where you can watch SportsGrid, go to sportsgrid.com/watch. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And now it's time for Southern California's sports fishing voice. Let's talk hookup. For the next 2 hours, join Pete Gray, Rock Cod Rick Maxa, Cory Sanden, and this week's special expert guest for fishing information, new techniques to catch more fish, and the most current scoop on what's happening in the water. Let's Talk Hookup is sponsored in part by Royal Polaris, the world's finest long-range sports fisher. By Ford, the official truck of Let's Talk Hookup, and Shimano Rods and Reels. Fish with the best. Shimano. Get ready for the fastest 2 hours on radio with the hosts of Let's Talk Hookup, Pete Gray, Rock Cod Rick Maxa, and Cory Sanden.
Good morning, anglers, and welcome to Let's Talk Hookup. I'm Pete Gray with soon to be here, Rock Cod Rick Maxa. We're in the world headquarters of Let's Talk Hookup, right next to the San Diego Landings, foggy San Diego Landings in Point Loma. We have a couple of great guests here. Lyall and Alayna Bellquist. They're fisheries biologists and just all-around good people that love to fish and love to talk about fishing. So you stay tuned. This is Southern California's sports fishing voice. It's Let's Talk Hookup on the Let's Talk Hookup app, SportsGrid Radio Network, and YouTube and Facebook Live.
If you're into saltwater fishing, listen to this. Saturday, November 2nd, it's Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego. Hi, this is Doug Kern. We are pulling out all the stops on this one over like Shimano and Power Pro. Check out all the Shimano and Power Pro product we have, like the all-new Talica A Series reel. Backed by popular demand, the Shimano Tranks Casting Contest. Cast a Shimano Tranks 500 and a Shimano Terramar 90H rod and show your surface iron casting skill. You'll see Shimano Terramar is the perfect rod to handle tough fish. The secret is TC4 blank construction. Match your Shimano Terramar rod with the Shimano Tranks 500 reel. Shimano's X-Ship and HEG technologies in the Shimano Tranks combine to provide massive cranking power with a smooth and effortless retrieve. It's our biggest sale of the year, Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing. Unbelievable pricing on tackle, clothing, and accessories. Saturday, November 2nd.
It's time for the Power Pro 30-second seminar. I like catching big fish, and I like smaller reels, too. How do I make sure that I have the capacity to land the big one? I fill my reels with Power Pro Max Quattro. It's 25% thinner than standard Power Pro, so you get more line on that small reel. Power Pro has a complete series of highly effective lines, including the brand new Power Pro Depth Hunter Offshore, with different colors every 100 feet. Perfect for flatfall fishing. Want to learn more? Check powerpro.com.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And at your San Diego County Ford dealers, you can find yours with the Ford F-150. Whether it's towing, powering up, or getting from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, the power to choose between gas, hybrid, or all electric is yours. Tough this smart can only be called F-150. Only at your San Diego County Ford dealers, they'll be glad to hook you up.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup, man. What a fun show today is going to be. It's like having the crew back in the house again.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
As you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook Live, a little foggy out there, but you see the searcher
foggy
in the background. Actually, Royal Star just pulled out to the fuel dock. They were here earlier, but we're going to go back in the studio now and welcome Lyall and Alayna. Good morning.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so
Great
much.
to have you. And you spent the summer up in Canada, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure did, eh?
Yeah.
Up in Victoria, BC.
You betcha.
Yeah. Alayna is a very proud Canadian.
Yeah. And American now.
And
though.
American. You're both.
So,
Hey,
Are you a dual
hey,
citizen?
She's dual.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is really, really
Yeah. So what has been going on in your lives? Tell us.
Yeah, we
Oh
miss you
my
guys.
gosh.
Yeah.
So I'm lifelong fisherman, fisheries biologist,
Right.
my entire
Hunter.
career, hunter, all things water, all things outdoors. I've been working for the Nature Conservancy for the last 7.5 years as a fisheries biologist, but I recently left that position and
We did.
so took a big leap. And
Whoa.
I'm still based at Scripps, where I always have been based.
Right.
but I'm, and still a fisheries biologist, but exploring new projects and new opportunities. Just took the leap into the unknown, and I'm excited.
Cool.
And so how is your job going to change now?
Now I get to work on the projects that I choose.
That's cool.
So,
Wow,
I've
that's
got
awesome.
now I've got a whole collaborative network of folks up and down the entire West Coast working on, whatever projects that I think are important and that I want to get done.
So give us an example.
Well, right now, an example would be barred sand bass. That's a big
right.
issue going on right now. Calicos and sand bass have been managed very similarly for decades. And now there's a lot of discussion based on historical science and based on recent science, particularly recent science, about how the sand bass spawning aggregations have been gone for a long time. But in the last couple of years, they've started to see a little bit of a resurgence. And now the question is, what do we want to do with this new opportunity with the barred sand bass coming back? Because prior to that, they were gone for about a decade.
What happened to them?
Oh, wow. So, I mean,
the real easy question.
Yeah. So we can go back a really long ways. Sand bass and calicos have been fished we have data going back over 100 years. And prior to 1953, they were actually fished recreationally and commercially. But in 1953, they decided, based on what they knew about the species at that time, that commercial fishing for those species wouldn't be sustainable. So that ended in the early 50s. Since then, it's been purely a recreational fishery, and we've seen catches slowly ramp up over the decades, particularly for barred sand bass. The landings peaked in the early to mid 2000s, and we were catching a lot of fish at that point. So, I'm not sure if over time, it took us decades in the 70s and 80s and 90s to sort of learn where the spawning aggregations were in the summertime. Or if prior to that period, they just weren't around very much, and due to oceanographic patterns that the fish moved in. That question is still open for debate. But essentially what we see are two species, calicos and sand bass, that have very similar life history characteristics and very similar biology. The main difference when it comes to managing the fishery is that barred sand bass form highly predictable spawning aggregations, whereas calicos, we know roughly when and where they spawn, but they tend to spawn just all throughout the kelp beds up and down the whole coast. So they're not as aggregated and not as predictable as sand bass. And so that makes sand bass a lot more vulnerable. And so the question is, because the landings went down so dramatically from about 2006 to 2012, what should we be doing now? And in 2013, CDFW stepped up and said, okay, for calicos and sand bass, we need to make some regulatory changes, which the fleet is familiar with. Obviously, now they increased the minimum size limit from 12 to 14 inches and decreased the bag limit as well. And that really helped calicos. There was about a 3 or 4 year period when catches were down because of those new regulations, but that was expected. Anytime you implement an increased minimum size limit, you're going to see those catches go down. But since then, calicos have bounced back, and that fishery is just phenomenal right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's widely accepted amongst everybody.
Totally. But barred sand bass didn't come back. So their catches continued to go down and stay down for about a decade. That's largely because barred sand bass have very unique requirements, oceanographically speaking, for their spawning to be successful. And so in the last few years, we've had those conditions come about, and we're now seeing those fish enter the fishery. So we have a new pulse of fish coming in that started last year and really ramped up this year. And so we have this brand new cohort of fish. Spawning aggregations are slowly starting to appear again. And so the question is, now that we have this opportunity, what do we want to do with it?
Yeah. And not overfish it.
Not repeat history.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So the big question is, will Department of Fish and Wildlife listen to you?
Well, so right now, Ken Franke has been at the forefront of this at SAC, and he has SAC has been working directly with CDFW, and academics have been working with CDFW. When I was with TNC up until a few weeks ago, TNC was, on the table. I'm still involved.
TNC being the Nature Conservancy.
The Nature Conservancy. Yeah. So it's been a broad collaborative effort in terms of getting the science that's needed to the table to inform questions about what we want to do next. And so that's an ongoing discussion, and it'll be brought to the Fish and Game Commission in November for.
And they should. I mean, they're pretty open to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good science.
Yeah.
And it'll protect the future. Not that we want more regulations, of course.
Exactly.
But we want to protect the species.
Yeah. We want to use the best science we have available and all the data that we have available to make the barred sand bass fishery as healthy as it can be, just like we did with calicos.
Yeah, for sure. And Alayna, what have you been up to?
Strong start there.
Yeah, well,
good luck following that up.
I know.
See who you married, right?
I mean, he did a better part of his PhD was on barred sand bass, so you have like a world expert.
The world expert on barred sand bass.
I still can just listen to him talk about it. And
Well, we have
so
2 hours to
engaging,
talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we met at Scripps Oceanography in 2012. I worked for SAC from 2012 to my last project was last May. So I finished up at the tuna camp, the tuna conference. And so that was an amazing experience working with SAC and the fleet and with Ken, and just beyond my wildest imagination. It was just a really wonderful time. And why I reached out to you was because since 2020, I had a pretty severe health challenge and became very, very sick with Lyme disease. Yeah. And so I have, pivoted a little bit. I've written a book and it's being published this year about recovery from Lyme disease and lessons that I've learned from my career as a biologist, and bringing all those things together and how I recovered relatively quickly for such a devastating disease.
So first of all, how did you get Lyme's disease?
So, and the reason I'm here is because the fishing community is in many ways is the hunting community.
Yeah, sure.
And the hunting community, like I'm married to a hunter. I went on my first bison hunt last December. I want to be outside all the time. That's where I want to be. And those people just are at a disproportionately higher risk for encountering ticks and therefore Lyme disease. So that's why I reached out to you.
Right.
And your question was, what did you just say?
How did you get it?
Yeah. So
can you pinpoint it?
I can. I'm quite sure. So I've been riding horses since I was about 10 years old. And I've been riding up in Rancho Santa Fe for a long, long time. And I was bitten by a tick right here in San Diego.
Wow.
And so
the thought that Lyme disease is pretty much restricted to the East Coast or the Northeast or whatever is totally not true, right?
No longer true.
Yeah, it's false. There's a wild amount of false information and misunderstanding surrounding Lyme from like science and policy and general public's understanding. So yeah, I was bitten here. I want to preface this whole conversation with, I don't want to scare people.
No.
I don't want to dissuade people from spending time in sage scrub.
Right.
But yes, I was bitten here, and that was in 2017.
Yeah. And it was pretty debilitating for you.
Yeah, it's been the hardest thing I've ever endured in my life. I'm a really tough person.
Yeah, you are.
I've
been around you enough. I know, right?
That's correct.
You put up with Ken for that many years. I mean, clearly
you put up with him. Yeah.
Ken, if he's listening, he's the best boss I've ever had, hands down. Ken is an incredible person.
Yeah. He is.
And elevated me, and I just owe so much to Ken. But in 2017 I was bitten and went to a doctor, and because it is so misunderstood here, it was kind of downplayed, and they were like, you'll be fine. And then in 2020, for a few years, these very mysterious, very odd symptoms started creeping in, which I just wrote off as stress. So I thought, I'm just stressed. That's why I have vertigo and I have dizziness and I'm tired or whatever it was. So I just kind of pushed through, as I have always done, some weird symptoms. And then in 2020, the whispers became screams, and I became bedridden for a year.
Bedridden for a year.
Couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like a go.
Yeah, you are.
Go. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I don't want to scare people. I just want to inform people and educate people.
And now you're fully recovered.
I'm like 90%
90.
there, but
Still-
I feel better and stronger and more resilient than I did before.
This is 4 years later.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a
So
bite
that's
from
tough.
something that's the size of a pencil eraser.
I know. Isn't that wild?
On the
Yeah.
big side. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm so glad to hear that you. made
yeah.
such a great
I mean,
recovery.
I talk a lot in my book about, yes, I was bitten, and yes, I had the bacteria. It's a bacteria.
Yeah.
Lyme is just a Borrelia bacteria. But many people get bitten, and many people don't get Lyme. Like
Yeah.
Exhibit A
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Exhibit A.
Yeah.
And
You can get tested for antibodies to know whether or not you've been exposed to these
Oh.
bacteria.
Got
And
it.
I got tested alongside Alayna just to know
course.
for
Just to know.
myself.
Yeah.
And I have antibodies for 7 or 8 different species of these bacteria,
Wow.
but it's never affected me at all.
yeah, and I
Interesting.
find
So-
that
But you
super
didn't.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just think I was in a more vulnerable, susceptible state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And happy-go-lucky Lyall over here was like, here we go.
he can go trudge around with the bison
Yeah,
and in
yeah.
the bush and stuff and just
Yeah.
not worry about it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but you wrote a book about it.
I did.
And this is an informative book that people can get and educate themselves on the Lyme disease, or if they think they have it or something like that, right?
It's certainly not a how-to guide. You will learn a tremendous amount about Lyme. I'm also a pretty strong creative writer, so it allowed me to really like write evocatively and like emotionally, which is really a good exercise after writing kind of scientifically for a decade.
Yeah.
That was really fun. So it's a good, entertaining read. And yeah, you'll learn a lot about Lyme, but you could have like MS or fibromyalgia or any sort of, any challenge. It's about like, there's like a massive challenge to overcome. And then what it ends on is really what I've learned about, because I've lived, 30 years of education and working and all that stuff. Like I've wanted to help the planet. That's always been my like drive.
Yeah.
And I learned so much about environmental restoration and conservation through Lyme and what it's actually going to take.
Huh.
And so I've brought a lot, now if I did ever find myself back in fisheries, I think I would do it a little differently now.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's environmental, it's biology, it's Lyme, it's me. It's awesome.
Wow.
I'm really
So
proud
what's
of
the
it.
name of the book?
I don't have a title
Oh, you
yet.
don't have- okay.
I have
And-
like 3 titles.
And has it been published yet?
No, this year.
Okay,
So
this year.
Yeah. It's,
All right, well,
the
we'll keep you
manuscript is
informed here.
completely done.
Yeah.
I'm just.
You just need to publish it and
Yes.
and I think it's going to be a great resource for people
Oh,
because
thanks,
I
Pete.
think you really
it's
I mean worldwide,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not just a
It's not just
US
in the US.
problem, it's all over.
It's
Yeah.
endemic to everywhere but Antarctica. It's the fastest growing vector-borne infectious disease in the United States. I think 500,000 people a year are getting this.
500,000 people.
And
At
it's
least-
very difficult to test positive.
Yeah, 300,000 do test positive a year in the States.
Yeah.
So it's this huge elephant in the room. And it's
Yeah.
called the great imitator because like you're like, oh, my joints hurt. I get these odd headaches. And then you might get like told you have arthritis. Then
Yeah.
you might like the root cause could actually be Lyme,
Yeah.
which is treatable in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, the CDC just acknowledged late stage chronic Lyme is a thing because they were kind of resistant to that for a long time. So yeah, I really think the book is on the forefront of all this because more people than ever have it. Awareness is growing. There are treatments. I just want people to feel empowered to know that you can treat this because a lot of the narrative out there is like, if you get chronic Lyme, you're screwed for life.
Yeah.
And you were ridden
Totally-
to bed and
Yeah.
and here
Yeah.
you are now.
Yeah.
As healthy as could be.
and better
Yeah.
for it. I
Love
am
it.
truly grateful for it.
And to that point, it's just as much a story about medical healing as it is about emotional healing.
Love it.
Because when you go through these traumatic
Oh, gosh.
experiences,
Sure.
there's the whole emotional side of it too. And that in and of itself is a huge story.
Yeah,
Oh,
when you
yeah.
can't do the dishes, it really plays with your head.
Yeah. Especially for Lyle.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about the caretaker.
Yeah.
Well, as you can hear, we have a great show with a lot of topics on the table today.
But no kidding. And you want to talk about, I mean, not obviously all the great things we mentioned, but two people who've been involved in our fishery in our world for so long. It's going to be a great show. And we're just really looking forward to having you join us this morning. If you want to be a part of Let's Talk Hookup and give us a call, we would love to hear from you. And the number is 213-432-1090. Again, 213-432-1090 is how you reach us here on the phones or send us a text. The text the show has become so hugely popular. with Let's Talk Hookup. You can text in your questions. The only way to do that is through the Let's Talk Hookup app. If you don't have it already, you really need to. It's a free download. There's no BS. There's no spam. There's none of that stuff. It's just the easiest way to listen to Let's Talk Hookup. You can always catch the live stream. You can catch all the great archive shows. If you catch some killer little calico bass tidbit from Lyall today and you want to go back and review, it's always available through that Let's Talk Hookup app.
Right.
And again, the app is the only way that you can send in your text message questions. If you do, too, make sure you include your contact info. Just a name and a phone number is all we need in case you win the big prize at the end of the show. Because, man, are we giving away a cool trip for somebody today. So at the end of today's show, every caller that makes it on the air and every text that gets read on the air is going to be eligible. And we're going to flip a coin at the end of the show. Alayna is going to do us the honor of flipping the prize coin. And we're going to decide who's going to get to go fishing on a full day trip on board the San Diego out of C4 Sport Fishing. You'll get to fish with Captain Ryan Bostian or Matt Bralla, that amazing fishing those guys have had this year. One lucky caller or texter is going to get to do just that. So a lot of fun this morning. So stoked to have Lyall and Alayna here. And if you want to join us again, 213-432-1090. And when we come back, we're going to be taking your phone calls, reading those texts. You stay tuned. You're listening to Let's Talk Hookup on the Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network. Everyone has their go-to fishing spot. My spot is Kingfisher Charters in Sitka, Alaska. Rockcod Rick here to say if you're looking for the ultimate Alaska experience and the best value in Alaska, it's Kingfisher Charters. Owner Seth Bone and his crew consistently deliver deluxe accommodations, the finest food, world-class fish processing, and top-of-the-line fishing experience. We've literally seen hundreds of our listeners to Kingfisher, and they all can't wait to go back. Most Alaska resorts make big promises, and they don't deliver, or dime you to drive up the cost, but not Kingfisher. Everything is included. Your license, fish processing, super deluxe accommodations, amazing food, airport transfers, your gear. Literally all you need to bring is your layer clothing, and Kingfisher covers the rest. They also have the finest boats and charter captains in Sitka, all for the ultimate value. Take it from me. Book your trip to Kingfisher Charters and you'll thank me. Kingfisher Charters, 800-727-6136 or check kingfishercharters.com.
Saturday, November 2nd, it's Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego, and it's our largest sale ever. Plenty of seminars by saltwater experts, over 20 reps from tackle manufacturers like Shimano. Come check out the new Shimano Talica A, the pinnacle of lever drag 2-speed reels. The Talica features Shimano's Hagani body to prevent misalignment of moving parts under the heaviest loads. When throwing jigs, the Shimano Trinidad is your top choice. For the best ever tackle bargains, check out Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing, Saturday, November 2nd.
Lobster season is here. It's time to gear up with the best in the business. Promar, based in SoCal. Promar knows lobster and makes everything you need to catch these tasty critters. The Promar guys are hardcore lobster fishermen and have designed the most successful hoop nets and accessories on the market, including the new Ambush XL HD, 23-pound, 36-inch rigid hoop net, the largest allowed by law. Visit Promar on Facebook or on the web at promarahi.com. The lighter the bite and the cleaner the water means one thing: need a thinner leader, more natural presentations. That's where Seaguar Gold Label leader material shines. It's Seaguar's thinnest leader material yet. That means it's even less visible underwater and creates more natural presentations, better catch rates on leader-shy fish. With exceptional knot and tinsel strength, this advanced leader material is now available from 2-pound test for fishing trout in the Sierra to 80-pound test for big yellowfin in Guadalupe. Get Seaguar Gold Label at your favorite tackle dealer or learn more at seaguar.com.
Whether you're boating, floating, paddling, fishing, or just chilling, remember a good day on the water.
Come back in 10
starts with
seconds.
Everyone wearing life jackets. Save the ones you love. Life jackets save lives. A message from California State Parks Division of Boating and Waterways.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup. Again, if you want to join us, it's not going to be an easy morning this morning. We're, again, so stoked to have Lyall and Alayna in here. 213-432-1090 is your phone number. 100% packed up right now, but there's going to be a lot of time to get your phone calls in here today.
Very good. I guess we have one line open if you want to get through. 213-432-1090. Open right now. Chris is standing by for your phone calls, and the texts are flowing through too.
Yeah, totally.
Only in the Let's Talk Hookup app can you text, and you have a chance to win that trip on the San Diego out of C4 Sport Fishing. You know, everybody thinks it's been, you know, of course, the offshore guys are killing the bluefin, just fantastic fishing out there. But that local yellowfin thing, Booker's kind of been keeping that honest, and understand that there's some private boaters that are catching 70-pounders.
There's been, the lack of that huge Dorado and yellowfin thing that we were really hoping was would be a thing with that tremendous fishing that we've seen on the ridge. The guys that are on longer trips have seen one of the better yellowfin bites I can remember in, now 25 years
Forever.
being at the landing. I mean, it was as consistent as it ever has been, still is amazing, great. And we were all hoping that would flood into our local zone. And it hasn't as of yet, but obviously still hopeful. But the little bit Pete that's around, especially that fish that are on the dolphin schools, has been, tremendous grade. Another really cool thing, Frank Lepresti was in the tackle store yesterday telling us that Captain Alayar and the Player Supreme kind of located a new batch of fish in an area quite a bit closer to home that they hadn't been fishing. A lot of that fish, as we all know, has been on Tanner Bank and Cortez and out there. Fish quite a bit closer to home in a really nice grade. They had a lot of fish that were in the 90 to 120 pound range, some fish bigger than that. And they had tremendous night fishing on jigs
Leave
again.
It to Alayar, right?
It was just, exactly. Yeah. Giant surprise. It was like anything. Last week we saw, I would call it nothing more than a bump in the road. There's always ebb and flow to the season, and it was a little bit ebb, but boy, this week sure was good fishing again. Lots of really good numbers fishing on those 20 to 40 pounders, big fish in the mix. That yellowfin you're talking about, Captain Taro on the Liberty, they had 45 yellows at the islands yesterday. There was some really, really good fishing that happened this week.
Coming back.
Come on, baby.
Yeah, bring it back. And it's not over yet. Not even
far
close.
from it. This is
beginning
our month.
of October is the
October.
prime time.
Totally.
Water's super cool on the coast, but as you get outside, it gets back to normal weather.
Yeah, it's October. It's usually when we see our nice weather and our nice fishing to come along with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, phones are packed and the texts are flowing through. They want to talk to Lyall and Alayna. Let's jump into it.
You got it. Why don't we start on the phones with John? He's calling us from Dallas, Texas this morning. John, thanks for getting us started here on Let's Talk Hookup.
Good morning, guys and girls. My question is to become a biologist. I'm 60 years old. Is that too late to get into that?
It's never too late. Go for it. It just takes a few years in grad school.
My workers' comp ended finally after 5 years of I couldn't do anything. So now they want to send me back to school to retrain me because I can't be a carpenter no more.
That sounds like an opportunity to me.
Totally. John, you'll have at it, and there's nothing like pursuing something that's passion.
Yeah. If you're into it and you're passionate about it and you love it, I'd say go for it.
Why not?
It's never too late.
Never too late, for sure. Hey, thanks a lot for the phone call this morning, John. I got a great text here from Harry in Chula Vista, and he says, "Hi, Lyle. Great to hear from you. Years ago, you were tagging bass with your wife. I was one of the people that helped back in that area. Also, what improvements to stormwater collection and treatment do you see in place to improve our coastal environment with sewage and stormwater runoff?" Really good question.
Yeah.
Another real easy one.
Yeah. The bass tagging program was hugely successful. That was 2012 to 2014. That then merged with CCFRP, the California Cooperative Fisheries Research Program. And that's still ongoing. That's a consortium of 6 different universities up and down the California coast that are now running trips out of a bunch of landings up and down the coast to fish inside and outside the MPAs, tag all species, evaluate performance of the MPAs, and understand fish movements.
Is that just an extension of kind of everything that your project was?
Yeah. So
awesome.
we were focusing on calicos and sand bass at the time. CCFRP focuses on everything, and it was just a perfect fit to merge with that broader and make that program statewide. So that's been super successful, and they still run trips every summer. Out of each landing up and down the coast, I think they run about a dozen trips. And so there's always opportunity to reach out to those universities and try and get on their email list and try to get on those trips because they're free. You can go out and join the trips and
help the cause.
Help the cause. You're fishing sort of scientifically, so you're fishing in a way that's standardized across all of the locations. That way, the statistics are comparable between all the data collection efforts when they combine them. So you might not be fishing the way you're normally used to. That's the only tricky part, but you're still out there fishing. You're contributing to science. You're directly participating in the science, and and the information you're using is being used, or the information you're collecting, is being used by CDFW to understand how those MPAs are working. So that's huge.
And how do you get on one of these trips?
Reach out to the universities. So for the San Diego trips, for example, reach out to the folks at Scripps Institution of Oceanography in Bryce Simmons' lab. Bryce and I are co-PIs on the program. Or you can reach out to me directly. You can just go to my website, lyallbellquist.com. That works fine. LYALLBELLQUIST.com. And you can just email me through that as well. And we can get you signed up and get you on the list for the trips for next summer, because they just finished.
There you go.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then to the pollution question, that's a huge issue all throughout, California and everywhere. I mean, in San Diego in particular, we've got San Diego Bay here. There's a lot of industry, a lot of naval operations, a long history of things being done here. We also have Tijuana right next door, and the flooding that comes out of the Tijuana River. So there's all sorts of water quality issues at play all the time. And there are organizations and institutions who are focusing on monitoring water quality. The city of San Diego has its own marine biology lab here that's always monitoring water quality. So the more monitoring we do, the more data we have to work with, the more we can make informed decisions, and that'll help the fisheries. So,
but what can they do? I mean, like what are the solutions to the Tijuana River? What are the solutions to the plant in Point Loma and the storm runoff? I mean, are there any?
Yeah, I mean,
that's the big question. Is like,
yeah,
can we solve this?
Yeah, this is a huge can of worms. I believe it's solvable. You just have to get the right people at the table and the right people working together. Open dialogue, open discussion, collaborative spirit, and collaborative relationships.
Maybe not solve it, but maybe you could curb some of it, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Spending so much time around sand bass, and Alayna said it best, like one of the true foremost experts on it. Do you feel that has had an impact on, pardon me, on the decrease of sand bass in the spawning aggregate? Like, is any of that storm water pollution related, or do you think they're completely separate from each other? Just on a personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly hasn't been tested. Most of the work that's been done on sand bass and calico bass populations has been focused on fishing and oceanography, because those really seem to be the two biggest drivers for adult abundance and population recruitment, respectively. Those are the two biggest drivers. Could water quality come into play? Absolutely, because barred sand bass, you find the juveniles in the estuaries and in the bays where water quality is, typically a concern. So it's definitely something we want to monitor and look into and stay on top of to understand what those linkages might be.
I think I only asked because I'm a San Diego guy, and like we're just in like that micro thing, and you always hear people say the same. Oh, the Tijuana River is right outside the flats, and that's where we find our fish. But I mean, that's just one spawning location on an entire coastline that they live. But when you're involved in that little, when your world is quarter size instead of circle size, then you can't help but hear that. So I was just curious if, like you said, you spend so much time around that fish. Curious on your personal opinion.
That's awesome. Most of the influence on the bass populations seems to be water temperature and when the thermocline sets up and when it breaks down, depending on typical seasonal fluctuations that we see, and fishing pressure.
Yeah. And Alayna, you did a lot of those tagging trips along with Lyall, and you were working with SAC. I remember you used to carry the ruler around measuring and stuff like that. What was that work, and what did that accomplish for you and SAC?
Yeah, so when I got to Scripps, I wanted to focus on, I came from commercial fisheries up in British Columbia. So I was used to like massive draggers and trawlers. And I came down to California thinking I would get involved in commercial fisheries, not really recognizing how big recreational fisheries is here. Yeah. And so I quickly pivoted and thought, oh, I need to start focusing on recreational fisheries. And Lyall and Ken were the two names that kept coming my way. And so then Lyall said he needed volunteers to come and help on those tagging projects. So I thought I should get some sea time in, which, I think we spent 40 I think I did 40 tagging trips
40 or 50
in that
Wow.
first couple years in San Diego. So I had a steep learning curve and learned a lot about the fleet in a short amount of time. And that is what fed me directly into working for SAC. So it worked out, and also getting married. So,
You gotta have a dual purpose, right?
It was awesome. And then I could totally hold my own now when I go out on like half day and 3/4 day. You know, I don't need that first trip though. I didn't know how, I did not know how to fish. Lyall just threw a rod at me and was like, catch some bass. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know anything, you know.
I could have taken a little bit more time.
Yeah, but there was like 40, volunteers on the boat. I just
Sure.
I just looked around and I had like all the help I could need. Yeah, so that was great. So then with those huge calipers you see, not me anymore, but you used to see me, and now you see, I think, Ken mostly down at the docks. So that was the bluefin tuna. Well, all tunas. We do a bunch of measuring to provide the federal government to make management decisions with. So in 2015, the bluefin tuna stock assessment, that was 2014, came out, and it was pretty shocking.
Yeah,
pretty grim.
Yeah, it was 2 points. The stock was at 2.6% of unfished spawning stock biomass. So that was a wake up call. So at the time, we were quite literally moments away from losing access to bluefin. I'm not sure people really grasp how close we were. And you can thank Ken for spearheading that one. And so out of that chaotic time, we came up with this program. This was a program designed and led, and still led by SAC, to collect length frequency data for all tunas, but bluefin was kind of the driver for it. So today it's a 10-year data set. We have over 20,000 tuna measured by the fleet. So this is all tuna measured 100% by crew members while at sea. 100% of the funding that we get from the federal government goes directly to the crew members. I think it's been $500,000 now from the federal government, and 20,000 tuna measured. And as of last year, the data set is now being used to in the stock assessment.
Yep.
So you have data that is being collected by the industry, funded by the federal government, and used in an international assessment. It's collaboration on a level like I have not really seen in fisheries.
That is extremely rare.
That is extremely rare. And it's great for the fleet because it's empowering.
And look at the comeback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So the most recent assessment, go ahead.
The most recent assessment was completed 2022.
It was this year based on 2022 data.
Yeah, so it's now at 10.6% of unfished spawning stock biomass. So we went from 2.6 to 2.3 to 10.6 in 8 years.
Yeah, way quicker than we anticipated originally.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge.
So what's that mean? 2.6 to 10.3 unfished biomass. So that means there was so 2.3 means that all but 2% of the fish were being fished. Now it's 10%. Only 90% of the fish are fished. Am I reading that right? I don't quite understand.
Yeah,
you guys are biologists. You got to speak some language.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to think about it on simplest terms, you can just use it as a relative scale. It was at 2.5. Now it's 10. So we're roughly 4 times where we were at the point. But unfished spawning stock biomass is a metric and an estimate that stock assessment scientists use to characterize where we are relative to a fishery, relative to a species that would be unfished, based on estimates and information about species life history and biology.
Compare that to like yellowfin. What would be the unfished biomass? Unfished percentage on
I'm not sure where we
would it
are.
Be much higher on that, or
it would be higher.
Yeah,
it would be higher right now because the yellowfin stock is in better shape than the bluefin stock. But by how much, I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the stock assessment reports.
All right. Well, one place though where the yellowfin stock is really good, and that's down in the East Cape.
Nice.
And we have Chris Moyer from Smokey's Curing Company and Cantina on the line, right, Rick?
Yeah. Good morning, Chris.
Pedro, Rick, buenos dias. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great, buddy. Good morning. Anxious to hear how things are going down in the cave.
I'm really anxious because I'm headed down there on Thursday.
We are definitely doing well on the yellowfin stock down here, guys.
I like
as well as the Dorado right now. So too, So this week, what a week of fishing leading up to your trip down here, Pedro. We had just a wide open Dorado bite, and they're everywhere, close in, down off of Punta Pescadero to the north, all the way, from Rancho Leonero, La Ribera to the Lighthouse, Punta Arena, down to Frailes. We had some tuna come in. It's been a little bit slower, but we've been seeing some yellowfin tuna this week over there off of Frailes. Frailes, they found some, and down off Punta Pescadero. And so the water temp right now is about 83 to 87, depending upon where you are. We've got beautiful sardinas. We've got ballyhoo. People are using the barrilete, the little skipjack, for bait. Pedro, we got I think we saw about 8 wahoo come in yesterday. So that was
nice.
Really cool. We might try to target some of that for your trip, buddy.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. 2 points on our tournament, our Let's Talk Hookup tournament for wahoo.
Yeah. So the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, Vaquera ended up with 12 Dorado and two wahoo and a nice marlin that they released. Sailfish everywhere right now. It's wide open right now, guys. So it's a good time to be coming down for sure.
Sounds
Chris,
really
that's awesome.
Great timing for our 30th annual Let's Talk Hookup
Crazy.
Palmas de Cortez tournament.
You know
I
what it
can't
sounds
believe
like?
that, man. 30. Who can
30,
believe that?
yeah.
That's crazy.
It sounds like October in
Pop
Eastgate.
started the
October in
smokehouse
Eastgate. Yeah,
We were
exactly.
right behind you.
Yeah.
We
What's
were
that?
right behind you. I said Pop started the smokehouse in '95. So we're right behind you, man. You beat us by a year, I think. Is that
Yeah, a
is
couple
that
years.
right?
Couple of years. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
All right.
well, of course, Smokey's great place to have lunch, dinner, cocktails, watch the games. Of course, you'll have all the playoff games down there, Padre games, and
tonight we've got a huge crowd for the Pods. Oh yeah.
Well, there's a lot of
awesome,
Dodger
Chris.
fans down there too, I'll bet.
Well, we got some side bets. We got some side bets.
They have to watch outside.
You're either a Dodger fan or a Padre fan down here for sure.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
we got a lot of side bets.
And of course, the best boat in the Eastgate, Vaquera. How do we get a hold of you, Chris? We want to come down there and get some great fishing and some good food.
You can get a hold of me at vaquerasportfishing.com. That's VAQUERA, or Baja Smoke Dog with 2 G's at Gmail. And we'll look forward to seeing you. I'm probably gonna go on the wagon until you get here, because I'm pretty sure that tequila is gonna be flown like leche miel once you get here. So
Yeah, probably with my brother-in-law John coming. Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Your cuñado and your compa Mark.
That's
Oh yeah,
it.
they've already gotten in touch with me, so I'm gonna
Watch out.
get tuned up.
Watch out. All right, buddy. All right, you take care, and we'll see you Thursday and talk to you right back here on next Saturday.
Okay, take care, guys.
All right, thanks for that. All right, hey, you have a great text, huh, Rick?
I thought so for sure. It's from Darren and Menifee. It said, "Good morning, Pete, Rick, Lyall, and Alayna. My question is for Lyall. I've heard that calicos that are 12 inches long are approximately 7 years old. Do you have an idea at how old a 14-inch fish and maybe up to an 18-inch fish? Also, do sand bass follow similar growth and age patterns? Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Love having you guys on the show."
Yeah, great question. I always get these questions about how old some fish is and what size. And no, they're always fun ones. Calicos and sand bass have very, very similar growth rates. So that's helpful when it comes to management. But overall, so let's see. At the original size limit from pre-2013, which was 12 inches, calicos were about 5 to 6 years old. So they mature about a little bit earlier than what your caller was mentioning. They mature around 3 to 4 years old. At the original size limit, they were mature. They were about 5 to 6 years old when they were entering the fishery. Now, and I think this is where he gets the 7-year-old estimate from, a 14-inch fish is about 7 to 8 years old. So they went from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, which gave us a couple more years than we originally had of spawning before they enter the fishery.
Yeah.
The idea of 12 inches was that fish at 12 inches had an opportunity to spawn, or it was of spawning size.
Yes.
But maybe you only got 1 or 2 cycles out of it. Now you're ensuring that a fish that gets taken out of the population has had a chance to at least participate in rebuilding it multiple times.
Exactly. Yeah. And conventionally, that's the way we typically do it in fisheries management. So you want to allow your species opportunity to spawn before it enters the fishery. And so usually you give the species 1 to 2 years, and that's where you start thinking about where the size limits would be set. But in the case of calicos and sand bass, we learned that you need to be a little bit more conservative for those species to allow greater spawning potential.
Very good. Let's jump back on the phones, Rick.
You got it. How about we talk to John? He's calling us from Escondido this morning. John, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. It's always a wealth of knowledge when you get to listen to your shows and stuff. I got a comment and then a question. I got to do back-to-back trips last weekend, 2 days. I did 2 days on the Tomahawk, and then I did 2 days on the Cortez with Rambo, and they were both phenomenal, but both different. We got a lot of nighttime fishing on the Tomahawk and just all daytime fishing on the Cortez. But nice crate of fish and great group of people. So get out and go fishing. But my question, so the sand bass, I used to, the area I grew up in, I would fish the Huntington Flats a lot. And it just, you could go out there and it was just wide open, all the time. But not so much now anymore. Is it just the habitat changed, or what caused that to kind of just dissipate?
Great question. So I remember those days in the mid late 90s or even early 2000s, right up until about 06, 7, 8, when fishing for sand bass in June, July, August was just off the charts. I mean, you guys remember this too.
Oh yeah.
At the time, our best estimates indicate sport boats were the fleet collectively was catching around 600,000 to 700,000 fish based on the logbook data. The private boat sector was catching another 300,000 to 400,000 fish at the peak. So for about a 5 to maybe 7, 8 year period, we were catching over 1 million fish a year, just barred sand bass, just in Southern California, just in June, July, August, and primarily from only 5 locations, right? Imperial Beach, Huntington Flats, Ventura Flats, San Onofre, et cetera. So that's why fishing was so good at the time. We knew where the spawning aggregations were. We were targeting them at the time at those places, and fishing was just wide open. But what we've learned from fishing spawning aggregations in other species all around the world is typically that's not sustainable. You want to be very conservative if you're fishing in those times and places.
So do you think the answer is to close it during some of the spawning cycles?
Well, landings went down tremendously from 07, 08 to 2012. And in recognition of that, CDFW became more stringent with size limits and bag limits. That worked for calicos, but it didn't work for sand bass because of the aggregation behavior, which makes them more vulnerable. So something more needs to be done. And that discussion is on the table right now. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife is considering using what's called a management strategy evaluation. And really that's a quantitative analytical process that allows you to evaluate trade-offs between different management options based on the data that we have and the life history information that we have for the species. So essentially what you could do, for example, is you could say, okay, there's a five fish bag limit today. We can run that through the management strategy evaluation and look at what status quo would give us, given the fact that the new cohort of sand bass has been coming in this year. But we could also look at a 4 fish bag limit, a 3 fish bag limit. We could evaluate those different management options and project out what the impact would be and what the fishery would look like under those theoretical management scenarios. You could do that with size limits. You could do it with seasonal regulations. You could do it with any sort of management intervention that you can think of that typically gets used.
Yeah.
You can plug that into a management strategy evaluation to understand what the impact would be.
Good example of that is the 14-inch size limit on calicos, sand bass, and what it's done to the calico population.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I'll mention is the last thing, again, we want is more regulations, but we want better fisheries. So sometimes better fisheries necessitate better tighter bag limits.
Exactly.
For example, another example would be bluefin tuna.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We went from 10 fish to 2 fish on bluefin. Alayna was a huge part of that. If you want to speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, we were moments away from losing all access to bluefin, and that would have been problematic for a number of reasons, because when you're not actively fishing a species and you don't have any say at the international table. So it's really good that we maintained access. Things I never thought I would be doing in grad school is like international fisheries.
Yeah.
Managing at the international level.
It's really, really awesome. But so we went down to 2, and I bet if you asked most bluefin anglers, they're quite satisfied with the 2 fish limit. I don't think that we've seen a huge outcry.
It's totally fine.
10 bluefin in the conditions we've had the last 10 years would be outrageous.
What would trust me, the bigger problem I hear every day is my fisherman's processing bill is higher than I can deal with already.
I know.
If it was 5 or 10 fish, I don't know what we would be doing.
Exactly.
Let alone 2. It's more anyways.
Yeah. So the United States is a really small portion of the total catch. Most of the catch for bluefin is occurring over in Japan, and then the remainder is Mexico and the US. But it's a small amount here, but it's really vital to the local industry. And we know how much the industry is part of the economy here. So, I think bluefin so far has been a very, very good success story. Only in, the last 10 years of like some pretty aggressive management, but what's come out of it, like the bluefin tuna program.
Yeah, the SAC fishery sampling program, which is expanded.
Yeah, so it's been we've
all good stuff.
And people see the success in it, and they feel more comfortable when other things happen. Well, as you can hear, with just so much great stuff coming in, a whole lot more. You stay tuned. You're listening to Let's Talk Hookup on the Let's Talk Hookup app and Sports Grid Radio Network.
The fish are biting and it's time to go. Hi, this is Ben, and you will see me at my dad's
Shimano
shop
read coming up
in Mission Bay, or maybe in front of the shop on my kayak. It doesn't matter if you are out there on a kayak with me, on your boat, headed out on a sport boat. Dana Landing has everything you need. We call it the one-stop shop for a great day on the water, because it truly is. Food, bait, tackle, beverages, and more. Our tackle shop, headed by John, is certainly one of the best. For freshwater tackle, nothing beats East County Bait and Tackle. These guys have the best rods and reels and the hottest lures and live bait. Our newest shop is Lemon Grove Bait and Tackle, with a great stock of both fresh and saltwater tackle right in the heart of Lemon Grove. ECBT is at the end of the 67 freeway on Mapleview and Lakeside. Lemon Grove Bait and Tackle, 94 to Broadway in Lemon Grove, and Dana Landing is next to the Dana Lawn Tramp in Mission Bay. Check out danalanding.com for more details.
Hey, it's time to talk about great gear from Shimano. And, I just came back from fishing in South Carolina and offshore a little bit, and fishing the new Talica 25A. Wow.
What a machine, huh?
You know what's so cool about it, Rick, is it's compact, but it's still a machine.
Yeah.
And the new handles on both the 20 and 25, game changing.
That 25 power handle is, I'm with you too. The extra size out of the 20, I love, but that 25 that you were fishing this past week with that new power handle, it's amazing.
But you look at the size and it's considerably smaller than the original 25, but still has the same capacity line wise.
It's a great reel. They did a fantastic job.
And a lot of other improvements is the dual drag or the dual drag system that gives you more power and more flexibility.
Original was a single disc drag. They've gone to a multi-disc system with two drag washers on the plate. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing, powerful reel, compact size, and it can land that big fish that you're targeting. Check it out, the new Talica A series at your local Shimano dealer.
Get ready for the largest event in our history. Saturday, November 2nd, it's Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego. We'll have great savings from Daiwa on Saltus, Saltiga, and the entire electric reel lineup. A fantastic offer on the Proteus rod and SK jigs too. Over 20 manufacturers reps, including Daiwa. Plenty of seminars, saltwater experts, huge raffle, and most of all, incredible deals on tackle. Up to 60% off. Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing, Saturday, November 2nd.
Hello, this is Captain Mike Totter from Searcher Sport Fishing. Alongside my colleague, Chef Josh Evans, and our dedicated team, we invite you to join us aboard the Searcher. Our fishing trips range from 1.5 to 8 days, available May through November, and include charter options. We're committed to upholding a legacy of top-notch customer service, delicious food, and a friendly and talented crew. Book your fishing adventure online at searchersportfishing.com or call Rachel at 619-226-2403. That's searchersportfishing.com. We look forward to welcoming you aboard.
Captain Jamie Tennis from Season Sport Fishing here.
For the past few seasons, a dart-style metal jig has come into play in a big way for tuna offshore or even rockfish down deep. AFCO's crossbreed jig has quickly become the go-to for many since it came onto the market. AFCO's crossbreed jig is good to go right out of the package with a 4X treble hook, heavy-duty split rings, West Coast colors, and sizes 60 gram to 120 gram. Pick one up today at your local tackle store or learn more on AFCO.com.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup. Having a great time here this morning. Lots of phone calls lined up. Lots of great text information. Boy, what a great show we've been having and a whole lot of fun. If you want to join us this morning, 213-432-1090 is how you do it.
Yeah, Chris is standing by. We're going to come back in the studio, but you just heard Captain Mike Toddard on the line there. You saw Searcher Sport Fishing right in the background. They had a great
Yeah,
trip.
they did.
Unloaded a bunch of fish this morning.
When I was walking up to the world headquarters, I was watching them unload into the carts, and man, it was in a really nice grade too.
Yeah.
Really good bluefins.
Oh yeah, for sure. What a great operation. Mike's taken over from Art and Celia and Josh, and just done a fantastic job on the Searcher. So check searchersportfishing.com and get on that list, because they fill up very, very quickly. Yeah, for sure. Hey, lots of good stuff, lots of good questions, and you have another text I saw.
I definitely did. Yeah, it says, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've always thought that calico bass would be a perfect candidate for a slot limit fish. My brother lives in New Orleans and says it's done such a great job for certain species down there. I only hesitate because it's a slippery slope and fisheries and wildlife potentially applying it to species that didn't necessarily need it. I was wondering if Lyall could give us his thoughts on a slot limit." That's from Rory in Lakeside.
Yeah, Rory's got a great question. Slot limits are really effective for managing fisheries, particularly recreational fisheries. In the state of California, I believe we only have one species with a slot limit, which is white sturgeon. I don't think any other species have it right now. It's been discussed many, many times. It's always on the table as a management option. But you know, the department and the industry seem comfortable, and enforcement also seem comfortable with just the minimum size limit approach. The biology supports it. Could a slot limit be viable and be a better option? Possibly. But it's just something that we haven't gotten to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Let's jump back in the phones.
You got it. How about we talk to Cliff? Cliff's calling from Blossom Valley this morning. Hi, Cliff. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, guys, and great show. So informative. Hey, my question is about fish eating safety. We catch and eat a lot of fish. So in particular, three, like halibut caught right off Imperial Beach, perhaps lobsters out of San Diego and Mission Bay, and then just in general, tuna and yellowtail caught out at sea. We eat a lot, and I'm not going to stop, but people ask me questions all the time. So what do you think about those?
That is a phenomenal question. And you might not realize how timely your question is, actually. Some of my colleagues at Scripps just finished a study looking at contaminants in a number of species caught in Southern California. Many of those species are recreationally targeted and popular. And they found that by and large, contaminant loads in the species that we catch here locally are very low. So generally speaking, recreational species that you're used to catching are very safe to eat. There is one hotspot of contaminants at the Palo Verde Superfund site. That was a historical dumping ground back in the 50s and 60s. So if you're eating, for example, white croaker from a very specific spot,
like right off of Palos Verdes.
Yeah, in a spot where not many people fish anyways.
Yeah.
Because
because they basically killed it with all the DDT.
Yeah. So there's that, but we've already known about that for a long time. So other than that isolated little example, recreational species are very safe to eat.
When I was younger, I spent a lot. I lived in Marina Del Rey area and used to scuba dive a lot, right in that area where the DDT was dumped in Alpha Palos Verdes, and I'm still here.
Yeah, there you go.
So
there you go. Yeah, I mean,
comparing you to a normal person is not the same.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
Here.
Yeah.
Let's not use that as your argument.
I got a lot of issues, but
kidding.
I'm still here. Yeah,
I'm kidding.
but I remember that seascape being just barren.
Really?
I mean, the only thing we really saw a lot of were the electric rays.
Oh,
saw
yeah.
a lot of those in
Yeah.
that
Really?
zone,
Yeah,
but
they
it was
love
like
that
the
spot.
bottom was devoid of life.
Wow, what a trip.
Yeah, devoid of life.
I mean, it's important to remember that the Superfund dumping site is offshore in thousands of feet of water.
Yeah.
So exposure to anything from that area, even for people who fish in the general area, is really low. Really low. So that's worth.
But this was the area just not far from the coast that they used to dump DDT.
Oh wow!
Into,
Okay,
back in the day,
yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah,
before you were born.
You had mentioned that study that your colleagues are working on. Is that something that'll be available to the public? Where would one find that?
It just got accepted for publication. Oh gosh, I'm not sure which journal. I'm not sure which journal yet, but I can shoot you an email. Yeah. But if you just go on to Google Scholar, a lot of people don't know what Google Scholar is.
What is Google Scholar?
Google Scholar is a source that houses scientific studies that get produced in the peer-reviewed literature. And it's through Google. If you want to learn about scientific published studies on any topic you're interested in, go on to Google Scholar and do the searches, and you're going to find those. You're going to find those studies.
That's awesome.
Are we going to find Alayna's work on Lyme disease on Google Scholar?
I don't know. It's not going to be academic.
It's peer-reviewed literature, not
but
not
you can
books.
find a lot of books. Well, we've got some joint stuff on bass, like a lot of.
Yeah, some of our studies are on there.
Yeah. So.
Google Scholar. You just Google Scholar.
Yeah.
And then look up what you want.
You could by author, by subject. So if you wanted to focus on, Lyall's bass work, you could just put Lyall Bellquist in.
Wow.
And you can find those studies. It's dry reading. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone trying to stay awake at night.
But for a scholar like you guys, I mean,
it's super interesting.
It's super interesting.
Well, and you can scan the abstracts, right? Like you don't have to go through the entire, like all the figures and the page, that's maybe more our jam, but you can, all the abstracts will be available.
You could find information about subjects you might be interested in.
That's awesome.
But if CDFW is making management changes and you want to learn where that science is coming from, go to Google Scholar.
Okay.
Hey, when we come back, we got a lot more Let's Talk Hookup coming your way, including checking in with the catch report. We're going to find out what's biting up and down the coast. You stay tuned. More Let's Talk Hookup coming your way on the Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Hey everyone, James Holst here with Norsk Lithium, the official battery partner of Let's Talk Hookup. Here at Norsk Lithium, we have two goals that drive who we are and what we do. The first is to make the highest quality, longest lasting lithium batteries available with a complete lineup of batteries that include 12, 24, 36 volt and starting batteries. Second, in addition to offering a 10-year warranty on all Norsk Lithium marine batteries, we provide amazing customer service before and after the sale. Check us out online at norsklithium.com. That's NORSK lithium.com, or call us at 831-232-9063. Or to see Norsk Lithium batteries in person, stop by the Trolling Motor Doctor in Lakewood or Anglers Marine in Anaheim and see why Norsk Lithium batteries should be in your boat.
No matter where the adventure takes you, we've got you powered. Norsk Lithium.
Great fishing is what Seaforth Sports Fishing in Mission Bay is all about. With free parking and fully stocked tackle shop, Seaforth Sport Fishing is a favorite among anglers. Come aboard top boats like the Aztec, Cortez, Endeavor, Apollo, Outer Limits, Elgato Doe, Pride, Polaris Supreme, Tribute, Pacifica, Pacific Voyager, and the Voyager. Plus, the new Seaforth, Sea-Watch, and San Diego offer the finest half and full day trips available. Seaforth Sport Fishing. For charters or schedule, check seaforthlanding.com. Run by fishermen for fishermen in Mission Bay.
This is Captain Tim Ekstrom from the long-range vessel Royal Star. With my partners Randy Toussaint and Brian Sims, we have set the bar for the long-range fishing experience. Spring 8-day, summer 5-day, or fly-down, fly-back 11-day winter trip, we deliver the highest quality long-range voyage you will find. From our premium RSW fish storage to our top-of-the-line chefs and crew, Royal Star distinguishes itself from all others. Want to grab a spot on the Royal Star? Check us out at royalstarsportfishing.com or call Tracy at 619-224-4764.
Sports Grid Radio Network is the premier audio streaming channel dedicated to serving the massive sports wagering and fantasy audience. Found on the Sports Grid app and SiriusXM. Sports Grid's real-time data transforms viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Get the best in-game live coverage during all the games, as well as the most in-depth pre-game previews from hosts like Scott Farrell, Donnie Rightside, Ben Stevens, Gabe Morency, and many more. To find out where you can listen to Sports Grid, go to sportsgridradio.com. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Saturday, November 2nd, it's Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego. And it's our largest sale ever. Plenty of seminars by saltwater experts and over 20 reps from tackle manufacturers like Daiwa, Salty Crew, Maxell, Iser, and Two Fish Jigs. Don't miss all the great seminars, the huge raffle to benefit Rollo Kids, the popular casting contest, and of course, the huge sale. For the best ever tackle bargains, check out Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing, Saturday, November 2nd.
Inside information is everything when it comes to catching fish in Southern California. You need a code group to connect with what's happening on the water. FishDope.com is your code group. Inside information available at your fingertips 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. FishDope.com really does help you catch more fish and burn less fuel. FishDope.com is the only fish finding service with a spotter plane, along with a crew of top anglers on the water almost every day that report actual locations and catches. They become your code group. You get daily catch reports from Point Conception to San Catine, 365 days a year. FishDope.com has online planning tools, temperature and chlorophyll charts, hot bite icons, and more. Take it from me, if you don't have FishDope.com, you're not part of the in-the-know crowd. Membership is affordable and good for an entire year. Plus, use the special code and save $30 on a new FishDope.com membership. Check it out today. FishDope.com. Catch more fish, burn less fuel.
Now it's time for more of Southern California's sports fishing voice. Let's talk hookup. Get ready for more of the best fishing information and the hottest tips on improving your angling skills. Let's Talk Hookup is sponsored in part by Ford, the official truck of Let's Talk Hookup. Shimano Rods and Reels. Fish with the best. Shimano. And now, Southern California's sports fishing voice, the hosts of Let's Talk Hookup, Pete Gray, Rock Cod Rick Mexa, and Cory Sanden.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Let's Talk Hookup right here on the Let's Talk Hookup app, Sports Grid Radio Network, of course, Facebook and YouTube Live, and of course, 1090 AM too, our radio source. They're still going strong up and down the coast. I was talking to somebody about 1090 the other day ago. I was up in San Luis Obispo and I heard 1090 up there. Yeah, it's crazy how big that signal is. And we're here with Rock Cod Rick Macca in the world headquarters, as you can see if you're looking at Facebook or YouTube Live. We're having a great time. Lyall and Alayna Bellquist, fisheries biologists and just super knowledgeable people about all kinds of stuff. I still have a multitude of questions for Alayna about Lyme disease too, because she's now a recent expert because of circumstance on Lyme disease too. So lots of good stuff and having lots of great phone calls and good texts.
Been a great morning already. And if you want to join us, man, we would love to have that. That's what Let's Talk Hookup's all about. And so blessed to have Lyall and Alayna in here this morning talking fun with us. And if you want to join us, 213-432-1090 is the way you do it. Or as we said, send us a text on the Let's Talk Hookup app. Free download. The only way to text in your questions is via the app, and make sure you include your contact info in case you win that big trip on board the San Diego at a C4 Sport Fishing, a full day trip going away at the end of today's show.
Yeah, for sure. And so 213-432-1090. Hey, have you been thinking about purchasing an outboard? Don't delay and purchase a brand new Yamaha outboard at a great deal at Yamaha's Why Wait for Spring sales event from now until December 6th. 2024. Listen to this. Eligible new 20 and 25 to 2.5 horsepower outboards come with $500 in diesel credit. New Yamaha 450 to 425 horsepower outboards include up to 7 years of coverage protection.
Crazy.
And new 350 to 30 horsepower outboards come with 6 years of coverage protection. No need to delay. Yamaha's Why Wait for Spring sales event is right now at your local Shimano, or excuse me, your local Yamaha dealer. Reliability starts here with Yamaha, and it certainly is the best.
I wish Shimano dealers carried Yamaha, because I'd be putting a brand new Yamaha on all the time.
Oh yeah.
How nice if you're in that position where you're thinking about repower and you've been having to deal with motors, to be able to have literally the most reliable motor on the water and know that you've got coverage for 6 or 7 years.
7 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So there are some exclusions and limitations, but see dealer for details.
Cool. Well, hey, with that said, we're going to find out what's biting. As promised, it's time for the catch report. Today, our fishdope.com report, sponsored by our friends at Summit Gasoline at the San Diego Sports Arena. Did you know that Summit is also the place where you can find the lowest prices on ice and snacks for your trip? They have 25 cents for your first 5-pound bag of ice, or $3.99 for a 25-pound bag. You can get as many of those as you want. $3.99 for a
Half the
25
price
pound of ice.
everywhere else.
It literally is. It's like half the price of going rate of ice. Plus, again, the killer deal that we always talk about with Summit, you get 100 pounds of free ice with a 35-gallon fill. They sell Kirkland products lower than the stores that makes them. Dozens of great snacks for 89 cents and more. It's Summit Gasoline, free ice for Let's Talk Hookup listeners, and always the lowest prices on gas and diesel, and that's at the San Diego Sports Arena. With that said, we're going to find out what's biting. Our fishdope.com report is going to start with our private boater buddy, Captain Mark Wish of Pacific Edge is on the line. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Ricky, Pete, Lyall, Alayna. Great show, man. So much really cool stuff. I love it.
Yeah,
but,
right up your alley.
And you know what? It is. And I got a couple questions for him when I get done with this report. So, as you might expect. But anyway, 1st of October here, and man, we can definitely feel that touch of fall in the weather, man. Chilly mornings, all this fog. I'm sick of this fog. Cooler water, but pretty calm offshore, which opens up a bunch of opportunities for you guys that want to venture out there. So, but starting close to home, lobster season's open. No shortage of guys getting out and around. Hooping local here has been pretty good. It's been really good over in Catalina. But I'm telling you what, guys, for those of you fishing that island, you best be aware of where those closures are over there. Fish and Wildlife is very present, and they just love writing those really expensive citations for you guys fishing in the closures. It's not your secret honey hole anymore. Another thing to be aware of, guys, rockfish regs changed again. You got to stay out of the shallows. You got to fish over 50 fathoms, and you got to check the regs to get the lat long numbers that define the areas you can fish in. It's not just quite as easy as you think. So check the regs. They're well printed out there, and make sure you know where you're fishing. So another tidbit, you guys looking for a thrill but staying close to home, the thresher sharks are biting in the outer Long Beach, LA harbor here. So troll, a mackerel, or a sardine, big sardine will work too, in the areas where you see the birds working over the bait schools. And some of those thrashers have been decent size, up to like 150 pounds, nice ones. So you can either let them go just for fun, or you want to take one home for dinner. They are pretty tasty. You might get a sea bass in there too, underneath those bird schools. Now offshore, those tuna fish took a few days off here a week or so ago. The naysayers are all moaning it's over. Shoot, not even
close.
Hardly. That bluefin popped back up in a couple different areas. It looks like the main zone is between Tanner and the west end of Clemente, and that's just kind of been status quo. You know, they're up and down a little bit. That's what bluefins do. But what's really interesting in the tuna fish world is these yellowfin that are showing up. Now, we've not seen the amount of yellowfin we were hoping and praying for. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But there's an area that's a little bit closer to home than that bluefin, kind of above the west end of Catalina, around that 172, like that, down inside the 499 towards the Farnsworth, even some outside the east end of Catalina. So it's closer to the, up and down the backside of Catalina. And there's been some foamers in there. Guys have got a few on poppers and surface iron, but most of those really good ones have been caught on spreader bars, trolling through the dolphin schools. And man, I saw some pictures this week that it's hard to believe it's coming from the backside of Catalina. It looks more like Guadalupe or something. Man, there's just some beautiful grade of yellowfin around here. And it's not wide open fishing by any means, but there's a little more around than guys might expect, which is really good news. And then one other thing I wanted to mention is I'm always looking around for different bits and pieces of information, and I was chasing down something, and I ran across something totally unrelated. A little website called seasonsinthesea.com, and it's mostly written about the Central Coast, but it goes month by month with what the ocean is doing with relationship to the wind and the currents and the different fish that come with the different conditions. And it is Central Coast oriented, but the little bit I've had a chance to look at it, it really applies a lot to down here to helping us understand what some of the wind effects and current effects have to do with how the water rolls and stays stable and so on and so forth. Seasonsofthesea.com. I found it really interesting. So do I got time for a question?
Yeah,
Pete?
go ahead.
Okay. So Lyall or Alayna, this one's for you. So I have spent more than a few years fishing offshore. And we were over at San Clemente month or 2 months ago now, actually. Purple blue water, crystal clear, flat calm. We were done catching our squid. And, the different salts and pyrosomes and this and that was drifting around. I'm very familiar with all that stuff. But I saw 2 or 3 of these things that looked kind of like a manta ray, a baby manta ray, like 14 to 16 inches across, with the little things that stick out in front of a manta ray. I don't know what you call them. They were kind of vertical.
The
and they were
lobes.
like paddling along with these things, and they had long white stringy tails on them, and yet they were clear. I could see through them. You could see the guts inside of them.
What?
Really?
And
I have
like
no
I said, I've spent
idea.
more than a few years offshore and looking at a lot of water under squid lights and never seen anything. Any idea what that might have been?
Did you take a picture?
No.
Well,
No idea.
Especially clear.
Here,
and see
we
the
stumped
guts.
the
That's
experts
wild.
here.
Yeah. You stumped
Clear.
us.
I mean, do we have manta rays here?
Well, if you remember back in 2014-15 during the marine heat wave, we had several manta ray sightings and other species of pelagic ray. Some of the smaller ray species from Baja come up, and those were spotted. So they have been sighted here before, but clear?
Clear? No.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
clear.
what that could be.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah.
Some kind of jelly, but it sounds like you're used to seeing things on the water, so
yeah.
you would know a jelly.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it was
It was
the
a-
honest
it was
to
a
God
ray.
creature. I could see his innards, and it looked, because again, I could see like right through this guy, and it looked as if he had eaten a small salt, those ones that have like the little orange balls in them.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
had like a series of those orange balls in it.
Wow.
And I've been going crazy trying to find stuff on the internet, found nothing that relates to that guy. But anyway, there's at least 3 or 4 of them around here because I saw them.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. There are pelagic planktonic organisms that are similar to what you're describing, but they're not nearly the size that you're describing. So I'm not sure. Larvaceans are similar to what you're describing, but they're not nearly the size. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Hey, Mark, and of course,
cool.
fishdope.com. It's happening, and you need to stay in touch with Danny and the boys. Always have the great information. $30 off a new membership to fishdope.com. And Mark, how do we find you?
Well, P, we're in Huntington Beach. We're on the corner of Bolsa Chica and Edinger by that big Chevron station. And the phone number at the store is area code 714-840-4262. The website's PacificEdgeTackle.com. And guys, time to go fishing, man. There's a lot of fish and it's nice weather. A
Yeah.
little bit of fog.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
It's nice weather. I like that.
Nice weather, low crowds, biting fish. I like it all. Mark, great job. Appreciate it very much, buddy. We look forward to talking to you next week.
You got it. We'll see you guys.
Thanks, Roll. Speaking of great fishing, let's head on down to another spot where I know they got them good this week, and that's C4 Sport Fishing in Mission Bay. We got Marcos standing by. Good morning, Marcos.
Good morning. How's everyone doing today?
We're doing great, buddy.
Well, not a lot of change from last time I talked to guys last week there. The new C4 fishing, some deep water fishing in the morning there. Again, those reds and rockfish, some pretty good fishing. In the afternoon, fishing that shallow water, fishing a kelp bed there, mix of bonita, calico bass, sand bass, whitefish, sheephead. So still some pretty good half-day fishing, and it's been an excellent half-day fishing season here. So very good there. San Diego Sea Watch on those full-day trips, they kind of gave it one last shot fishing offshore this week, and it didn't quite work out. So those trips have switched back to island through pretty much the whole month of October here. So if you're going to go full-day fishing out the islands there, maybe get into some of that bluefin, yellowtail. One thing they did see this week, though, which is kind of interesting, was some yellowfin on some of those trips. Not a lot of numbers. I know Delgado on one of their 6-pack charters, they had 9 of them yesterday. So that was pretty interesting to see. A few on the San Diego earlier in the week, but not a lot there. So definitely have your passports ready if you're going to do that full-day trip there, and they've still got some good fishing. So check those out. Check the website, seaforthlanding.com. We have those half-day schedules up there, morning and afternoon. Like I said, morning's going to be deep water, afternoon's going to be shallower, so bring the right gear. Full-day trips fishing the islands. Those one-days and longer trips still doing pretty well. Still some bluefin in there. Some of the boats are seeing a mix of bluefin and bottom fish. A little bit of yellowfin actually showed up in the count there too, but overall it's very similar to what we've had with those bluefin there. So again, all those trips are on the website, seaforthlanding.com. Give us a call at the office, 619-224-3383. Come down, visit us in person, check out the tackle shop, get geared up. Don't put your gear away yet. I think it's time to get the new stuff and get out there and visit next door there and get a burrito, a breakfast burrito or breakfast tacos. And Rick, you need to come down. We need to start petitioning for another Rock Cod Rick breakfast burrito. It's been a while.
I couldn't agree more, man. I like it. I like your style, and I like your campaign, Marcos. Glad to hear there's great fishing, and yeah, that Charlie's Landing really is a great spot too,
Good
man.
spot.
Yeah, appreciate it very much.
Really good burger.
Yeah, no doubt. Glad to hear the good fishing. One more time, if somebody wants to join you on whether it be the half day or that great offshore fishing, one more time, how do we do it, Marcos?
Check the website, seaforthlanding.com. We've got our full schedule up there. You can make reservations right online. If you want to call, talk to us in person, have some questions, or you just prefer doing that, 619-224-3383. Or as always, come down to the beach, visit us in person, hop on a boat, and get out there and catch some fish.
Great job, buddy. We look forward to talking next week, Marcos.
I'll talk to you then, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Marcos.
Let's head on now down to Cedro Sport Fishing. We're going to talk to Rosie. She's on the line right now. Hi, Rosie.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Great show this morning. Always so interesting. I love it. Well, it has been fall fishing for us, too. And, one thing that we really haven't seen this year is, the tuna, the yellowfin tuna and the dorado normally move in the end of August and September and October. And we normally are catching a bunch of those, and we're just not seeing the numbers this year. Actually, we haven't even gotten one tuna over the rail. I haven't seen any. And we've only seen a couple dorado come over the rail. But thank God for our true blue yellowtails, because they are still with us. They're still big and strong. And this has just been the year for big yellowtail. I mean, we are still catching 40-plus pounders daily, and it just absolutely amazes me. And you know what? We're even getting, the big guys on surface iron, which has been good, dropper loop, flow trolling and mackerel. Whatever floats your boat, the yellowtail are willing to cooperate. This last group that has been down there been doing a lot of sheephead fishing, gold spot bass fishing, getting their freezers filled, which is good for us. And next week, I'll be able to do the fish report from the studio. So there you have it.
Yeah, you're going to be live right here in the world headquarters of Let's Talk Hookup. You bringing Jeff along, or is he?
I'm bringing Jeff along. He's still able to get into the studio. Then after that, it's in for his hip surgery.
Okay. All right. Well,
him.
we'll see if 7 to 9 a.m. next Saturday, Rosie and Jeff Flowers, Cedro Sport Fishing, talking some good Cedro fishing.
I can't wait, Rosie.
Absolutely.
Next
Absolutely.
Saturday.
So, and then, next Saturday we'll talk about we're starting to open up all of our trips. We've got our charter masters get a chance. They fill their trips first, and they tell me how many spots we can open up. And hopefully by next weekend, I'll have all the trips up on the schedule, and we can go over those and what each month holds for you as you go down to Cedros.
Awesome. Well, great job. Can't wait, and really looking forward to that next Saturday, Rosie. Appreciate the great report, and we'll talk to you then.
All right, you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rosie. All right, that's going to wrap up our Catch Report today. Again, sponsored by the Fish Pros at Fisherman's Processing in San Diego, where you get the premier processing experience. Check out the easier, brand new, and online system to book your processing reservations for your long-range trips. Now with more team members, Fisherman's Processing stays far ahead of the rest. More same-day capacity, the finest customer service. Stop by their location in Old Town on Taylor Street or check fishermansprocessing.com. Be sure you make those reservations today.
Now, Debbie Patnow, bless her heart, wanted me to be sure to remind people that this Wednesday is the big San Diego Anglers and Fisherman's Landing Tackle Rod Building 101. And you're going to be there.
Oh, yeah, totally. Wouldn't miss it.
With arm and everything.
Yeah, well, I'll be one-handed, but I'll be knuckle bumping instead of handshaking and high five. But yeah, I'll be there.
But 4 of San Diego's best rod builders, Jim, Bill, Joe, and Chris, are all going to be there, right?
It's going to be a really fun night. It just turned into, something that Debbie wanted to do, something different and something fun. And, it was about rod building basics. If somebody hadn't before, learn how to do install a handle or a grip section on a blank or wrap a guide. And it just morphed into something way bigger than that. Like, those are amazingly accomplished rod builders. And there's going to be a bunch of, it's totally open to the public.
And it's hands-on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're going to sit down with like some of the, the very best in the business. Like, This is how you wrap a guide on. This is how you set a handle. So you can learn to build an entire custom rod. You could learn to do repairs on your own gear. Like, it's one of the things in fishing that is a little bit foreign to a lot of people. And there's going to be some of the best in the biz breaking down like every little bit of it.
And it's free.
Totally free.
Totally free.
It's going to be a great raffle afterwards. It's at Portuguese Hall. It's going to be on Wednesday. It's free to the
Right
public.
on Shelter Island.
There'll be a bunch of guys from the tackle store helping you. And like, if you want to learn how to pick a blank and learn about components and how to put it all together, it's just going to be a fun night, totally free. And we're really looking forward to it.
Doors open at 6. Seminar starts at 7. Again, Portuguese Hall this Wednesday. Presented. It's Rod Building 101. Check it out.
Yeah, San Diego Anglers is so cool about doing stuff just like that. And
yeah,
just a fun free day for everybody. I can't wait to see everybody out there.
Well, let's jump into those jam-packed phones, Rick.
How about this time we talked to Todd. Todd's calling us from Costa Mesa this morning. Todd, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging in there, Todd. Looks like
he dropped.
Looks like well, no, I take that away. I don't thanks for hanging in there. I'm just kidding, Todd. Well, in the meantime, we had a great text come through and pull that up here. This just says, good morning, everybody. My question is for Lyall. A few years ago, we had an invasion of Humboldt squids. I'd always heard that coincided with the impact on sand bass population. Any truth to that? That's from Rob in Seal Beach.
Great question. Yeah, I remember when they moved in super thick and heavy. It was fun when they were in here to fish for. It just gave us a whole new opportunity that we weren't typically used to. And so there was a couple of years there when we were just roping the squid. That was a ton of fun. They eat everything. Humboldt squid,
people,
each other.
Yeah.
I mean, Humboldt squid will eat anything. So whatever they come across. Typically, they're offshore. They're in a little bit deeper waters. I think it was documented that they had an impact on rockfish because they were at some of the banks and some of the nearshore rockfish spots. So there was probably an impact there. On sand bass, I have no idea, but I would say generally when the squid were moving in coastal, they were eating
everything,
anything they could.
Yeah.
What a wild animal.
Yeah,
so wild.
Crazy animal.
I know.
Yeah.
Everything about him.
A friend of mine was diving on one of the oil rigs years ago off Long Beach and had a school of Humboldt squid swim right by him. It was a little kind of
spooky,
yeah.
Because they could eat you.
Yeah.
Like attacking mass.
Yeah, they're
right.
Yeah.
So Steve in Escondido has an interest question, and I talk about it because it's about one of Rick's favorite fish, the ratfish. He says, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, catching sand bass off of IB, I remember finding stacks of fish and catching them all day long, and with a few ratfish. I know ratfish are mostly deep water fish, and their correlation between sand bass and ratfish. Is there a correlation between ratfish and sand bass on the coast?
Not that I know of. I think it was probably just a random chance.
Just a random deal.
That happened. Yeah, he's right. Ratfish tend to be in deeper waters on the bottom.
And what is a ratfish?
It's a really unique species. Like I said, they're found in deeper water. Scaleless. They're benthic predators, usually where there's very little light, if any. But they're very common in offshore waters. They're just deeper than we typically fish, so you don't come across them very much.
But for some reason, they moved up with sand bass.
Every once in a while, they'll come up into the shallows, and you might see one caught. Yeah. And further north, they're more caught more commonly.
Okay.
They're appropriately named too.
Yeah,
I know.
Ugly things.
They're not the cool ones.
Yeah, you don't want to handle them.
Yeah, sure.
They're in the chimera family.
Chimera family. Yeah. Ratfish.
Yeah.
I love, Lyall, that you started us off with sand bass, and it just goes to show like how popular of a fish and what a bread and butter that thing is. We don't talk about sand bass often on the show. Like they pale in comparison to these 200-pound bluefins and everything.
Of course.
I am shocked and so stoked to see. I mean, we have dozens and dozens and dozens of text messages for you, and they're all relating to sand bass and people's legit concerns about it. I mean, like I think we're all fishermen. Nobody wants to see extra regulations, but like every text comes coming through with, it's like hard to wade through. Well, which one's better to read, this one or that one? Like that's a fish that certainly has a soft spot in everybody's heart. We all grew up fishing those things, and
that's awesome.
Everybody wants the best for it. There is a tremendous amount of sand bass questions that are continue to be lined up.
That's really cool. And what's really amazing is that when we have kelp bass to point to as a success story, we can do
100%.
the same with sand bass if we use the best
That's
available
cool.
science moving forward.
And we were talking about all the different management plans. Like, we've seen success with a lot of different things, whether it be size limit or bag limit, or look at white sea bass. That the limit changes throughout the year. When they're spawning, you get 1. When they're not, you get 3. Like, there's been a lot of successful tools used out, and you're not saying one or the other. It's just, let's get all the information about the fish, and then let's review what the options are. Then let's pick the best.
Exactly.
Then let's keep it rolling.
Yeah. And the SAC fishery sampling program is going to be a big part of that. So SAC started with tuna, as Alayna mentioned, but they've expanded. They're now collecting data on rockfishes. And the idea now is to expand again and to include the basses. And that would just be huge, because there are some data gaps that we need to address and inform management as best we can.
That's cool.
But generally speaking, sand bass isn't data limited.
Correct.
My understanding.
Correct. Yeah. Sand bass and calicos, I would not consider them a data limited species. We have a ton of fishery dependent, fisheries independent information, biology, life history information. It's all there. We just need to piece it together and work together collaboratively to figure out the best solution.
I have a Lyme disease question for you, Alayna.
Oh, yeah.
My wife and I love to hike, and we love to spend time in the outdoors. How do you prevent getting bitten by a tick and potentially getting Lyme disease? What's the best prevention?
I mean, awareness. When I moved here, I'd never seen a tick before in my life.
Yeah.
I know there are ticks up in British Columbia, and I grew up super outdoorsy, but it just not in the same kind of numbers.
Yeah.
And so
too cold,
I think. And just like no awareness.
Yeah.
And then when I started to spend time with Lyall, we were on like game trails.
Yeah.
And like you're brushing up against all the
Right.
Artemisia and things like that. So, and I had zero awareness, and I I didn't appreciate the risk. And so I think that the biggest key is to be aware that there are ticks in San Diego, and there are ticks that, and in Southern California, that do carry Lyme disease. And, I'm again, not dissuading people from getting out there and exploring wild
Hunting
spaces.
or
Absolutely.
hiking or anything.
Absolutely not.
But if you want a treatment, permethrin is what people do use to spray on
your
their
clothes.
clothes. And
That's a common, just
you can
insect
get it,
repellent.
Yeah, you can get it at Walmart. It's pretty nasty stuff. I usually, like, if I'm going hunting in deer season, I'll spray it on my clothes the night before and let it dry, and it's supposed to be good for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So, but I've walked through brush and had ticks attached to me and jump right off.
Oh.
I've literally watched them jump off.
So do you, when you're walking through brush, of course you're wearing long pants covering your
tuck your
body.
socks into your, tuck your pants into your socks, like tuck your shirt into your waist. Just because they love all
wear long sleeves.
Yeah, they love all the nooks and crannies. Like check yourself after shower. I never showered after horseback riding.
Yeah,
that sounds weird. Like I would, I would like stay in my riding clothes for like 8 hours or something, right, like that. And so it's like little simple lifestyle changes. Like we're not saying like any radical things.
Yeah,
the tick lives on the bush. The tick waits for an animal or you or whatever to walk by, jumps off the bush, jumps onto you. How long does it take for when that thing jumps on you before it bites you?
I mean, it can happen pretty quickly, and the Lyme disease bacteria can be transmitted relatively quickly from the host or from the vector, the tick, to you, the host. So, I mean, I had the tick on me for about 5 hours, maybe, and I did get a little bit of a rash, but you don't necessarily get a bullseye rash. A lot of these
it can be a silent thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know dogs typically can go running through the bush, and I've picked ticks off my dogs before.
Yeah.
Can you get the tick from the dog? Like if you're rolling around hanging out with your dog, some people have their dog sleeping in their beds with them and stuff. Can the tick jump off of them and get on you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe the tick that jumped off of my horse onto me.
Oh,
they don't jump.
Yeah.
People think they fall from
crawl.
trees and stuff. They have like long, legs, and they kind of just like grab you as you walk by the brush.
Yeah.
But they actually are the ones that are just passing the bacteria on. The birds and rodents are actually the ones that carry the Lyme disease, and the ticks are just transferring it. So
the ticks are biting the rodents, and then they're bringing it to
then they're feeding on us.
Transferred around.
Yep.
Wow,
that's a trip.
But with the dogs, there's a couple different vaccines for Lyme for dogs, but there's none for humans right now. Those are still
that's interesting.
Yeah, they're still in trials. They're in development right now.
Yeah, do you think it'll happen?
It is. I mean, I think it's close, very close right now. For anyone who's super interested in that, there's this remarkable documentary called The Quiet Epidemic. and it's exhaustively researched on why. I think there was a vaccine several decades ago that got kind of squashed, and why Lyme disease, being the number one vector-borne infectious disease in the U.S., is not really known about very much. Why politically, like economically, environmentally, socially. It's a really amazing documentary.
The Quiet Epidemic.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Quiet epidemic.
Yeah.
Epidemic. Quiet epidemic.
Yeah. So if you are curious,
So
like
just
why
Google
you
it
can't get protected against Lyme through a vaccine, it'll explain it.
I think once this hugely successful book gets published,
and
the world's awareness is on it, then I think that vaccines right around the corner. Hey, when we come back, we got a lot more Let's Talk Hookup coming your way. More of your phone calls, more of your great texts. You stay tuned. You're listening to Let's Talk Hookup on the Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Hey, this is Captain Benny Florentino, owner-operator of Coastal Charters. Just that I'll be running the Camus 26 hybrid boat from West Coast Marine in Costa Mesa. Hybrid being a center console with bay boat features. The boat features a Michael Peters stepped hull that'll give both myself and my guests a comfortable dry ride. West Coast Marine in Costa Mesa will be carrying the 26 hybrid, 28 hybrid, and also a 34 cat. Heck, they even have some great looking bass boats. But if you have any other questions, feel free to call Nick Kelly or Kyle Mesa at West Coast Marine in Costa Mesa, and we'll see you on the water.
Take it from Captain Benny Florentino. West Coast Marine in Costa Mesa is your source for Camus boats, as well as Parker boats, Yamaha outboards, and now Mercury outboards. Sales and service, the finest you can find. Go see Nick and the guys at West Coast Marine on Newport Boulevard in Costa Mesa, or check westcoastmarine.com.
Don't be the last one to get one, especially now. The new Brutus Pacific Pro from Ace Line Hauler. You can catch more lobster and pull deeper with the Ace Line Hauler, so you can get those bugs in the boat. Easy to store and low-powered draw. The Ace Line Hauler is the highest quality and certainly the best on the market. Just ask a friend that has one. Get the new Brutus Pacific Pro by Ace Line Hauler today. Buy now at better fishing stores near you.
Saturday, November 2nd is Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego. Seminars by saltwater expert, great deals on tackle, top tackle reps like AFTCO, Psycho Pro Fluorocarbon, and incredible deals on AFTCO clothing. Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing, Saturday, November 2nd.
Sport fishing, not just for dad anymore, thanks to the Dana Wharf's Kids Club. Dana Wharf Sport Fishing invites all anglers 12 and under to join the Kids Club today. Membership includes over $100 of really cool stuff, like 2 free fishing trips, whale watch trip, as well as a free Dana Wharf Kids Club hat or t-shirt. Log on to the website, danawharf.com, or visit them in Dana Point Harbor, the bass capital of the West, and only minutes from the 5 freeway in Orange County.
When it comes to fishing rods for saltwater, there's just one name you need to know: CalStar. Take, for example, the Graphiter series. It's a true graphite and fiberglass composite rod, the finest it's ever been built. And for anglers seeking traditional performance, durability, and quality at an affordable price, the CalStar West Coast series of rods and blanks are the ones for you. Their master craftsmen bring decades of rod building experience to every rod they make. So if you want your fishing rods to be truly state-of-the-art, I always recommend CalStar at fine tackle stores everywhere.
24 years ago, I visited this amazing place called Hawaii Archipelago. I just could not get enough of these amazing islands, natural beauty, friendly people, and phenomenal fishing. I knew I had to spend more time there. Moving forward to today, here I am, a fishing lodge owner. Hi, this is Valerie Hilbrich from Queen Charlotte Safaris in beautiful Hawaii Islands, British Columbia, Canada. We are a boutique lodge just steps from the Sanskrit Harbor, offering a truly unique fishing adventure. Our fishing is world class. You will fish for king salmon, halibut, lingcod, and much more. Our fishing grounds are untouched, unspoiled, and surrounded by stunning scenery. We are dedicated to making your adventure an experience that will be a lifetime of memories. We will welcome you as friends, and you will leave as part of the Queen Charlotte Safaris family. You will come for the fishing, and you'll come back for the memories. We are booking now. Please give me a call at 1-877-815-2892, or check us out on Instagram, Facebook, or website qcsafaris.com.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup. Having a great time here this morning. What a fun show this has been.
Yeah,
and so
really
much great
good information.
Yeah.
Looking at the outdoor cam, I see the Shogun getting ready to go on another great trip. And speaking of the Shogun, we have our Let's Talk Hookup Shogun trip coming up in this month, the 21st.
Yeah.
Coming up very soon. A 7-day now. It was a 6-day. They changed it to 7-day. Go down and take advantage of that phenomenal fishing down south. Couple spots still open. Hard to believe. But if you want to go on the Shogun, like you see here in the picture in the background here, we'll jump back in the studio now. And just check out shogunsportfishing.com and book that trip. You're going with Ron Lane. He'll be hosting the Let's Talk Hookup group. And it's going to be a fun time.
It's been really fun to see that, that ridge fishing started early with the tremendous yellowfin fishing we talked about earlier in the show. That has carried on, but boy, there has been some really good wahoo scores over the last few days here. I know the Independence is on them, and that trip
really
again,
good scores.
that trip so perfectly.
Yeah, you
set
can
up.
make the rocks with it. Yeah,
especially with the addition of that 7th
Yeah,
day. Like that was
absolutely.
the difference maker of having time to have time in wahoo country instead of just touching it there. It's going to be a really cool trip.
So if you want to go on the 21st, Mr. Ron Lane will be hosting along with all the great guys on the Shogun. Check shogunsportfishing.com and book that trip, that 7-day Let's Talk Hookup trip. Right now, let's talk to Ken from the San Diego Anglers. Good morning, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Good
morning. Show today. Morning. Just wanted to announce that we are having the San Diego Anglers Fall Open Bay Bass Tournament. It's October 19th at the Shelter Island Boat Ramp. We having 2 a year now, one in April and one in October. We have first place paying out at $1,500 for boat division and kayak division at $750 for turning in some big bass out of San Diego Bay. So we thank San Diego, we thank Fisherman's Landing for their sponsorship for that. You guys have helped us out a lot, and we really appreciate that. So again, that's October 19th, Shelter Island Boat Ramp. You can sign up at SanDiegoAnglers.com, or you can go to iAnglerTournament.com and sign up there, or give me a call. My number's on our website at San Diego Anglers, and we'd be happy to get you set up for this fun tournament.
2 weeks from today.
That's awesome,
The 19th
Ken.
of October. So, and the website is sdanglers.org.
No, it's San Diego. It's SanDiegoAnglers.com.
SanDiegoAnglers.com. All
Yes.
right. And you can sign up right there.
You can sign up right there, or you can do SDA tournaments at Gmail, and that will come to me, and I will send you all the information you need for getting signed up.
Great.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate
excited.
that.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
the
much, guys.
fall San Diego Open Bay Bass Tournament.
Yet again, what a fun thing to do this time of year.
Sand bass.
Good bay bass fishing and sand bass. Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about it all morning, man.
Yeah.
And what a great fishery for sand bass San Diego Bay is. I mean, again,
Yeah.
Lyall, no stranger to the fishing side of things. I mean, what a cool fishery that is. That is
Yeah.
a year-round, very good sand bass population and great fishing.
Why is that, Lyle?
Well, sand bass and spotties, they recruit to shallow bay and estuary habitats. So they start small in here and they grow up and they migrate offshore and they, move up and down the coast. So the bays and estuaries here are kind of the starting point for them. And that's kind of where the population begins. And that's where the health of the fishery comes from. So,
But you also find some pretty good sized ones too in the
you
bay.
do. So the big ones love coming in the channels and in some
What
of
are they doing here? Feeding?
They're feeding.
Yeah.
They're full of a lot of the benthic invertebrates that you get here in the bays, the clams, the shrimp, all of those species. But they'll eat small flatfish. They'll eat anything they can come across.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of species that use bays and estuaries as nursery habitat. So the bigger sand bass come in and they're eating all those juveniles across lots of different species.
Is it known what size that fish tends to be before it migrates out of the bay? I mean, you said they go in there for spawning, or I guess they don't go in there for spawning reasons. They go in there to like rear up. Like
no, so they spawn
what is
at these offshore. Yeah, they spawn at these offshore aggregations, and then the eggs and larvae drift around in the water column,
Okay.
and the larvae that survive in the water drift inshore, and some of them land in the open habitat, and some of them land in the inshore bays and estuaries. But those ones really take off in the bays and estuaries. So you'll see the little 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inch fish. And that's one of the big questions that we have about barred sand bass populations. what's going on with recruitment in these bays and estuaries where they're not being monitored the way they are in the fishery or the way they are on dive surveys on the open coast. So that's an open gap in the information that we'd like to fill. And that's an option on the table.
There you go. All right, well, let's jump into those jam-packed phones, Rick.
Jeff in Mission Viejo is up next here on Let's Talk Hookup. Hey, Jeff, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Great show. I've got a question I think everybody wants to know about sand bass. You say they migrate. Where in the heck do they go? You guys know the answer.
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. No, no, they migrate to and from their spawning aggregations seasonally. So during those summer months, June, July, August, they bunch up in the spots that we're all familiar with to go fishing. But then during the rest of the year, they expand up and down the coast to deeper rocky reef habitat and ecotone habitat, which is sort of the boundary between soft bottom and hard bottom habitat. So in those winter months, you'll find them largely in deeper waters on some of the deeper reefs. Some of them, we know about up and down the coast in Southern California, and that's where they tend to hang out in the kind of the off season.
Okay.
How much of that fish is in, like, how far down into Baja does that fish tend to go?
Oh, they go all the way down to as far as Abre Ojos. There's a viable artisanal fishery in Baja off Abre Ojos. So they catch them with traps down there, small scale traps. And I believe they have a seasonal closure in Mexico to protect the spawning season. But yeah, they're almost coast wide in Baja, and they migrate up and down. I mean, in the tagging work that we did, we found sand bass traveling up to about 70, 80 miles.
Wow.
We had some fish that we tagged here locally in Point Loma and La Jolla that ended up off of the Dana Point area.
Wow.
That was about the farthest migration that we saw. Generally speaking, they stay in more localized areas within, a kilometer or two from where you catch them. But during those seasonal migrations to and from their spawning habitats, it could be, tens of miles.
Do you happen to know if the population of the fish that are in Baja are any better or worse than the fish that have not been, like you said, they commercially fish down there, so it's not like they're not getting harvested, but you were talking about those insane numbers that we recreationally caught them. Are the Mexico fish in a little better off because they weren't pounded quite as hard as our fish are? Or?
Huge question. Really glad you asked it. That's a big gap in our knowledge base.
Mexico.
We don't have as much information on the Mexican fishery. However, universities like CICESE and UABC, they have researchers that are monitoring catch. So there are some data available. We just need to work together to sort of piece the entire coast-wide story together to understand what's going on. And that'll help us learn how to manage our fishery better. But one thing that seems to be true is that during the period when our sand bass population was down, most of our recruitment has been coming from Baja. So the healthy population that's down there right now has largely been seeding Southern California.
Yeah.
And so the question is, once we build up our stock here locally, can we seed ourselves again? You know what I mean?
Sure. That's super interesting.
Now, Alayna, when you were with SAC, you did a lot of interaction with Mexico. And did you work with some of the biologists in Mexico and such on some of your projects?
Not me very specifically. Most of my work was with CDFW and NOAA. Ken and Kenya, or Sweet Kenya, was, I tagged along on those trips, sort of, but I wasn't really involved. I don't speak Spanish. So.
That's part of the deal there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I have a great text here. It's from Shane in San Luis Obispo. It's an interesting question. He says, "Good morning, great show. Last night I ate a barrel fish at my local sushi spot. We ate the collar and sushi. It was absolutely delicious. Looked it up online and not too helpful. Any idea what a barrel fish is?"
Restaurants have so many different names
totally.
for species. I remember I ate cobia one time and they called it lemon fish, I think, which I had never heard at the time. Yeah, restaurants come up with interesting names.
So there is no fish, to your knowledge, that's called a barrel fish.
There may be somewhere around the world, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. Oh, have to ask sushi guy.
Hey, I had another great text come through from Jeff in Torrance. It says, Lyall, are there any studies with what I can only assume as a fisherman are an overpopulation of sea lions? Is there any correlation or impact to our sand bass, halibut, sea bass? I always hear about the salmon stocks, et cetera, et cetera. Love to hear your take from Jeff and Torrance.
Another phenomenal question. There are tons of studies. There's a whole division at NOAA Southwest Fisheries Science that are focusing on protected species and marine mammals, seals and sea lions being two of those. There have been population monitoring studies periodically. We have a pretty good idea of what those population abundance estimates are. There's a long time series that researchers have generated that they're still generating. So there's a ton of information on how many sea lions are out there. And we know a lot about sea lion physiology and biology and ecology and energetics to know, approximately how much an individual sea lion needs per day or per week or per month for intake. So we have a pretty good idea of what the overall impact is on fish intake, but they eat a whole number of species, so it's sort of hard to pin it down. They really like sardines, anchovies, mackerel, the oily, calorie-rich species. But as we all know, they eat lots of different species that we like to catch,
especially ones on our hook.
Yeah. exactly. So, there is an impact overall. Have they impacted sand bass specifically? Probably to an extent, but to what extent, we don't really know.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, let's jump back on the phones, Rick.
You got it. How about this time? We talked to John calling from Huntington Beach. Good morning, John. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Awesome show as always. Just love to hear the science behind what we love to do. So the question is, what about albacore? It seems like they're catching them this year from Northern California all the way up to the end of or top of British Columbia up there at Paraguay. Any population studies that we on albacore? How are they doing?
Yeah, so the albacore
we see them here sometimes.
Yeah, great question. The albacore population is very healthy, to my knowledge, up and down the entire West Coast. My wife and I actually just came back from Vancouver Island a few days ago, and the offshore albacore fishery up there is great. It's not something you really think about when you go fishing up there. Everyone thinks about halibut and lingcod and salmon, but if you just go a little bit farther offshore, there's some big albacore you can get into. And coast-wide, the population is very healthy. It's largely influenced by oceanographic dynamics and water temperature. That's the biggest factor to think about. So when you're fishing albacore, you want to look at your water temperature maps. That's the biggest thing.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Tomorrow on Let's Talk Hookup, we have Valerie Hopebridge from Queen Charlotte Safaris, and she's talking about adding albacore/salmon trips to her BC trips.
Nice.
Because they caught a lot of albacore up there this year.
Yep.
Yeah, not far off the coast from where
15 miles.
Yeah, how cool would that
it
be?
was right there. Yeah, for sure. So be sure to tune in tomorrow and see what she says about albacore.
Totally.
We're going to have one of the captains calling in talking about it, too.
That's going to be exciting.
That's going to be fun. Bill in Orange County has a good question for our future marine biologists or fisheries biologist people. If you had to do your education over again to be successful, what university would you attend and what would be in your studies?
Well, that's a cool question.
Wow, interesting question. Do you want to start?
Go ahead.
Well, let's see. I did my undergrad at Santa Barbara. I did a master's at Long Beach and a PhD at Scripps Institution of Oceanography. I wouldn't change that for the world.
That's awesome.
It was
a pretty awesome places.
Wonderful experience. Just amazing people to work with. The fishery that's right in your backyard, whether in a recreational or commercial context. The species diversity and the ecosystem. I just love cold, murky kelp water, getting out at the islands where it's, can be crystal clear, or diving here inshore and, doing your field work in the cold kelp forests. I love that too. It just feels wild. So the university experience, the field experience combined, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. And
how about you, Alayna?
I did my undergrad at the University of Victoria, and then I moved to California to go to Scripps. So I did my master's at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and that's where I met Lyall. I love that I went to school in 2 different countries. So I got to see what university was like in Canada versus the States. And I feel like I have a coast-wide understanding, because obviously up in Canada we focused more up northern issues. So
what are the issues up there?
I mean, I came from the commercial fishing world, and so it was really ground fish.
Yeah.
Like a lot of ratfish. A
Yeah.
lot of ground fish. The scale is just different, you know, when you're talking about draggers and trawlers like that. And what I have hands down noticed is that down here, especially working with SAC and the fleet, the way that this part of the country is looked at from the rest of the country and in many places across North America as a leader of how to work together and move really difficult mountains. And so I was contacted countless times in my years at SAC by people on the East Coast. How are you doing what you're doing? How are you all working together? How are you guys like showing up at the table together, industry science managers? And so that would be the biggest difference that I've seen is the collaborative nature of the work here. And I really credit SAC to that in a major, major way.
That's cool.
That's great. Hey, when we come back, we're going to find out what lucky caller or texter is going fishing on board the San Diego. More Let's Talk Hookup coming your way on the Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Hi, this is Tommy the Fishmonger from Tunaville Market and Grocery and the TV show Fishmonger. I've known Yusuf Husseini for over 20 years, and he's the expert when it comes to real estate. He's helped me with estate planning and multiple estate questions that the average guy like myself just doesn't understand. Yusuf's not only a fellow angler, but he's an amazing realtor that specializes in helping us in the angling community find their ultimate home. If you own a home, get a free, no obligation home evaluation now online from Yusuf by typing in SoCalHomeEval.com. All you do is put in your address and you'll get that report fast. Yusuf is the SoCal real estate guy to go to. He's helped me and many of my customers and family members to find what they are looking for in a home. He understands the real estate market like no other, so take it from Tommy the Fishmonger. Yusuf's the real deal when it comes to your real estate needs. Go to SoCalHomeEval.com and I'll see you at Tunaville Market and Grocery.
Saturday, November 2nd is Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego. Come see seminars by saltwater experts, great deals on tackle from Shimano like Terramar rods with TC4 blank construction. Tackle Day at Fisherman's Landing, Saturday, November 2nd.
Gamakatsu is not just all about hooks. There's so much more, including the new Gamakatsu fillet knives. Once you try one, you'll always want more. The new tools are also very special, including the Gamakatsu braid scissors made with ceramic blades so they'll never rust. Check out the new lineup of shirts and hats, and of course, Gamakatsu fishing pliers and boxes are amazing. Gamakatsu, much more than just the best hooks. Get them at your local tackle shop or at gamakatsu.com.
This is Bob Hoots at Costa Sunglasses. Visual signs are a critical part of my fishing program, from bay bass to bluefin. I wear Costas to see what's out there. Costas are built with advanced polarization technology with our 580 lens, designed to cut through the sun's glare while providing enhanced color to see more fish. Costa was founded by a group of anglers wanting a high-performance lens for every fishing application. Costa has a West Coast style frame and lens for your adventures. CostaSunglasses.com.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your San Diego County Ford dealers is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains, get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it. Visit your San Diego County Ford dealers today. They'll be glad to hook you up.
All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup. It's time to find out who's going fishing on board the San Diego on a full day trip. Alayna's going to do us the honors, flipping the prize.
Go for it,
coin.
Alayna.
Today we have a texter winning. Congratulations, Jeff in Torrance. You are going fishing on board the San Diego with Ryan and Matt. You are so stoked.
All right, and thank you
Congrats.
to all the callers, all the texters. We can't get to everybody, but we tried to get to as many as possible. And you guys, my gosh, Lyall and Alayna, you guys are so knowledgeable. And thank you
Great,
for
you too.
your years of dedication to your passions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. And again, if somebody wants more information from you, Lyall, about those trips.
Yeah, you can reach out to Bryce Simmons' lab at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, or just reach out to me directly on my website, LyallBellquist.com.
Yeah, okay. And then Alayna, when can we see the book on Lyme disease?
Hopefully this year. I'm really active on social media, doing the promo for the book. So on Instagram, I'm Alayna Bellquist. And then I have a website as well, AlaynaBellquist.com. So there's all the updates there. AlaynaBellquist.
All right. Very good. Yeah, you guys are super knowledgeable, and really look forward to your work with sand bass. That is
me too, Lyall.
so
That's awesome.
fantastic that you're doing that, and then going to help preserve that fishery for the future, because that total collapse that we had, that was just no fun.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that again.
It's coming back right now, and SAC and the department and academics are working together to see what we can do.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, thanks to Chris for manning the phones, and thanks to all of you again for being out there. Thanks to Adam for all he does on the Let's Talk Hookup app. We will be back tomorrow morning, 7 and 9 a.m. We have Valerie Hoprich. Going to be a great show. Super fun to have Valerie in the studio talking about Queen Charlotte Safaris, which soon to be Haida Gwaii Safaris. And we'll explain that tomorrow. And we'll also explain albacore fishing up there, as well as the phenomenal salmon fishing and more. Talking your Canada language there, Alayna.
I love all these
Canadians.
Yeah. I love it.
Thanks for listening today. We'll see you tomorrow morning right back here on 1090 AM, the Let's Talk Hookup app, Sports Grid Radio Network, and of course, YouTube and Facebook Live. See you later. Bye.
Great show.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Appreciate it,
you.
buddy. Thank you.